This is my audience.
Hi, I am Emily Ramey, and this is my informative speech. And this will be my visual aid of an apple. Hi, I am Emily Ramey, and this is my informative speech. Have you ever been told that an apple a day keeps the doctor away? Well, that is not completely true, and if you only ate an apple a day, it would definitely not keep the doctor visits away. Today, I will be informing all of you on the mental illness and eating disorder of anorexia nervosa. I, in high school, did a presentation and an essay on this topic, and so I feel very equipped to give y'all a little bit more information and just a better understanding on the eating disorder anorexia. Most of y'all probably have heard of anorexia. It's a very common thing that's talked about. And you may know someone that has struggled with it, or you may have struggled with it yourself, but you may not know all the logistics and all the details of it because it's a very complex disorder. Today I will be going over 5 different topics of anorexia to help us have a better understanding. So the first one, we're just going to define what it means and what the illness definition is. Then we're going to go over some warning signs that us as outsiders can go on about our day and try to look for in other people that we may be worried about. The third is going to be the typical stages a person goes through who has anorexia. The fourth is going to be some statistics of anorexia and how common it is. And the last thing we're going to go over is some recovery techniques and tactics that people with anorexia typically go through. So let's start out by just defining what anorexia nervosa is. So anorexia nervosa is a mental illness and an eating disorder that involves obsessing over your weight and your food intake, and often comes with counting calories and body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia is part of the mental part of the illness, and it is when, for example, someone who has anorexia and is very small looks in the mirror and they see someone who is much larger than what they are, or looks down at their thigh and sees a thigh that is much larger than it is. That is what body dysmorphia is. It's a contorted body image. Now let's move on to some warning signs that outsiders can see. This is how anorexia is distinguished. It is abnormal eating patterns and overexercising, and they are split up into 3 separate categories. So the first category is going to be your physical signs, and this is going to be your drastic weight loss and your overexercising. These are very typical for people who have anorexia, and these are easy for us as outsiders to see because they are physically in front of us. The second category is psychological signs, and these are a lot harder to see because they're not physical, and this includes anxiety and depression. It also includes the body dysmorphia part of it, and like constantly weighing your waist or your thigh, or measuring your waist and your thigh and constantly weighing yourself. So those are the psychological signs. And the third and final category of some warning signs is social signs. People with anorexia typically isolate themselves, and a lot of times this is due to going out and eating with people and not wanting people to notice that something may be wrong. And so they'll distance themselves. They also may be a little bit intolerant, and this could be because of the lack of nutrition. And also could be due to depression from the psychological signs. Now let's go into the typical stages that someone who is struggling or suffering with anorexia is going to go through. So the first stage is denial, and this is when someone with anorexia will not admit they have a problem and that they have it under control and that nothing's wrong, and if people think that something's wrong, they're wrong. And so this stage quickly develops into the stage 2, and this is when someone with anorexia, they do know they have a problem, but they believe it's under control and it's not harming them and it's not a big deal. And so Obviously, this is not typically true and they don't have it under control. And so this leads to the third stage. And the third stage is when the illness has gotten so bad that the individual does not want to reach out for help because they don't believe it's even possible for them to get better, because they simply cannot eat or they simply can't change what they've started. And so this is the third stage, and this is typically like where it's getting really bad, and other people are going to start noticing, but again, they don't want help because they don't think it's even possible for them to get better. The fourth stage, this is typically the turning point, and it's honestly a little bit too far gone to be a turning point, but typically this is when something happens, like someone gives them a reason, there's some reason for them to want to get better. And typically at this point, this is when medical help is given, and loved ones are going to be helping them because for some reason they found a reason to want to get better, and this is them developing from that third stage of they don't see a reason why they should get better to there's a reason for me to get better now. And the fifth stage is after they've gotten help, is just maintaining a healthy lifestyle from then on. The next thing we're going to talk about is some statistics. And so 5.5% of teenagers are going to develop an eating disorder. And I know this may not sound like very many because it's only 5.5%, but that's actually 2.2 million teenagers that are going to struggle with some kind of eating disorder, even if it's not anorexia. 3.8% of this percentage are going to be female, and 5 to 10% of these teenagers will die within 10 years of being diagnosed. And also, the last statistic I have is it's the highest death rate, anorexia is the highest death rate of any psychiatric disorder. So those are some of the statistics. So you may not think 5.5% is a lot, but that's 2.2 million teenagers that it is affecting. And the very last thing we're going to talk about is some of the recovery techniques and tactics that are used for individuals with anorexia. The first one we're going to talk about is hospitalization. Now, this is usually only for very serious cases that might need like a feeding tube to get some nutrients to get their body revamped. They'll be hospitalized. The second one is medication. This is typically used for people that their doctors think that they have anorexia because they have anorexia because of depression or anxiety. Medication will be used. And the third one is living facilities, like long-term living facilities that have like group counseling and such things to help you cope and get better. So in conclusion, I know this isn't much of a pick-me-up or subject, but I really hope that you have more of an awareness of and of the eating disorder, mental illness, anorexia nervosa, because we went over the definition, warning signs, typical stages, some statistics, and recovery. So now you have a little bit of better awareness, and you may be able to watch out for your friends and family. Thank you.